Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead, another episode of On the Wrong Lead Live, where we're going to go ahead and handicap some really good racing actually this weekend. I think we're finally picking up here in Derby season. We got a kind of a full weekend of racing, so it should be a good time. Um, I'm joined as always by Mr. Mark Capitan. Mark, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Work's a little crazy busy, so it's nice to be sitting here, kind of looking at some races, and it's a good, some good stuff this weekend. I mean, I think the last few weeks we've had this thing where you're starting to get back into better horse racing, but where like one track is good. But I think this weekend we have at least two, if not two and a little bit of a third track that have some really solid cards. So it's nice to see, you getting a little bit back more into the swing of things, which is nice.
Yeah, actually, listener and frequent contributor Nick Sievers had suggested, "Hey, you guys should look at the Coast to Coast Pick Five," and we looked at it and we're like, "Hey, this looks like a good idea." So that's
Yeah.
exactly what we're going to cover. Is we're going to take a look at the Coast to Coast Pick Five. Nick Sievers saying, "Let's go, Mark." He is he's trying to be positive because I think you'd made a comment that
I may have, but Nick, I will say I cannot get knocked out in the last leg of the Delta Pick Five because they're done with their meet for the winter. Ended last Saturday, so not a problem. But I
yeah.
can get boomed at Turfway. That's going to happen here at some point.
Yeah, I just got boomed at Turfway, and I of course, normally I don't like post my tickets on Twitter, and so of course I posted this ticket on Twitter and it's dead leg one, since my 10 decided to go four wide the entire way and wasn't able to catch up to the speed. I thought actually at Turfway that last night was all speed. I cashed
Yeah,
the pick five
all
again last night, um, and
Gosh, a nice pick five. A very nice
yeah,
pick five. Very
yeah, the
nice.
pay I got about 1,300 back. So that was nice, and we had a couple, maybe it was a week or two ago. I had another little nice one too. And so yeah, so I feel like I've been seeing the ball pretty well at Turfway, and then so I came into today, and I had a single in the early that I hit, but I missed I think every other leg. So my single one, I had a little bit of win money on it, so it kind of covered my play for the day. So, but yeah, it's been a little it's been a little bit rough for me today. I don't know. I thought for a second that maybe it wasn't playing so speed favoring because we saw a couple of horses come from off, but then once again here that five goes wire to wire. The 11 who kind of set up on the pace also kind of uh just did the
Just hung
moonwalk all
on.
the way to the
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and the 10, who finished second, kind of sat. I mean, he was kind of off of it. He had to make kind of a weird middle move to kind of hustle up, but then Corrales was just kind of four wide, five wide the entire time. So I mean, I don't necessarily think that's what you want to do
Yeah,
here.
no,
So
I would agree with you. I think this, I think with the exception of your seven, that horse that you singled earlier on the card, speed's been really good. I mean, and your seven only came from maybe 3 or 4 lengths back. It wasn't like a big, out of the back sustained move. Just a little bit off the pace, more of like a mid pack to the front kind of move. But besides that, I think speed has been, to Nick's point, I think it's been more fair today, but definitely still, you still want to be forwardly placed. It's where you need to be, which is odd for Turfway. Turfway tends to play. I historically think of Turfway as being very closer friendly, so kind of weird to see it being as speed favoring as it has been today.
yeah, and so for those of you wondering, and I'm sure everyone is because the man that people come to see, Mr. Caleb Knight. Apparently, his computer just like went kaput today, so he's probably getting his laptop plugged in and trying to figure out how to get online here. So he'll be on here in a second. But yeah, we got a I mean, we got a lot of stuff to cover. Let's start it with this coast to coast pick five. I think this is a really great sequence. Um, I like the first three races. I kind of hate the last two races. And not so much hate, but I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe I landed on the chalk in the last two races, and so maybe it kind of turns into more of like a pick three for me. But I did think that the first couple races were interesting, and this Gulfstream card's always as good as a Gulfstream card can be. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I do not believe that there's a single all weather race carded, which I know people are excited about. I'm a little bummed because all weather racing is just you know well
It's your jam.
apparently. But yeah, so yeah, it's a really good card. And I mean, what time does this thing start at? 8:30 Eastern or 8:30 Pacific. So 11:30 Eastern, 10:30
Yeah.
Central. It's going to be early. So yeah, Nick, you were saying, of course, it's chalk.
I'll tell you what, I think you say that, but if you take a look at the two Santa Anita races that we're covering, one of them may chalk out. But I think the big cap is a really deep race, and I think I'm going to make an A out of probably the longest price on the board. So we'll go. It was as Andrew Champagne says, that's some foreshadowing.
Okay. Well, let's start race one here. The Honey Fox. It's Gulfstream Park Race 12 is what's going to kick this off. And yeah, I believe your morning line favorite in this race. Yeah, we got a full field of 12. Your morning line favorite is actually a lukewarm 7-2, the number 8 in our time. Who I do like in this spot. I have this horse as an A in here. Obviously, Safi Joseph train, Edwin Gonzalez riding here. Last seen in the Pegasus World Cup Philly Mare Turf Invitational, and ran third in that race to Be Your Best and Sacred Wish. And I think both those horses in this race would probably be, clear favorites, I think. So I really do like In Our Time in here. I do think is probably going to be your speed and might be lone speed and has got a chance to get loose out there. Mark doesn't seem to think so. He's a little a little more uh maybe he's a little bit more yeah, maybe I guess you just don't agree with me there on the pace scenario. I know you're a little skeptical of that.
No, I really think the seven special WAN is probably your speed here. At least on the products that I'm looking at, I think special WAN has some more early speed here. I know that has not been the tactic that they have used historically on this one, but I think special WAN. You're adding Luis Saez. There's nobody more dangerous on the front end on turf. I think probably just about anywhere than him. And I can see it. I would imagine this one, at least on what I'm seeing 119 early time for him. So that's a little faster than your 8 early. And I think Special WAN makes the lead, and I think is really extremely dangerous in here. I would imagine Louis is going to get a little more aggressive ride, put this one on the front end, and I really think this one has is it very well could wire this field. Now, I will say that, a little bit of a caveat here. I think this is one of the races that you need the most coverage of in this entire sequence. But I think Special WAN is pretty darn interesting in here. And I also do like Josh's 8 In Our Time. Again, both of them are getting quite a bit of class relief here. The PwC Turf, is a G2, but it was a fairly salty G2. This is a lot softer company. And then I also think Special Land coming out of the coming out of the First Lady. There's no chili flags or Gina Romanicas or fluffy socks in here. This is a much softer field, so I think there's a pretty good chance that she might be able to take him at least take him quite a way on the front end. So those are my top two. There's some other horses I want coverage too, but I see Pretty Boy arrived, so I want to see how he's doing.
And I love that Pretty Boy showed up just in time for you to talk about the First Lady, where I made money in the grossest way possible, and that's in boxing 3 Chad horses in both the exacta
was this the
and
race
the
you did that in?
trifecta. Yeah, and I made like $600 on that race. I was
That
at
was
the
like
OTB.
the
Yeah,
dirtiest wager ever.
it was just so stupid. And Caleb looks like he can't hear us. He looks like he's just
Unfortunately, I can't hear you.
Oh no. He's trying to figure out how to get his setup there. But
Is my audio okay? I threw this together at the last second.
yeah. I mean, you sound a little bit deeper and a little bit more muffled than normal, but yeah, it sounds fine.
That could be
It's
the
clear.
anger.
Yeah. We were trying to explain that your computer decided that now is a good time to like make you have to troubleshoot something, and then the inner Papa T came out. And I was waiting for you to tell me you're either going to be the hero or the oh man, what did he say? The hero or the villain? That's still the greatest story. Oh man, we're at the. He's got to get his phone. His phone's not working. He goes up. He's like, "You're either gonna be the hero or the villain," and his phone doesn't work. He's like, "Guess which one you are." The poor guy just scared him. Just scared the poor guy at the Genius Bar. Oh no, guy didn't see it coming. Yeah, unfortunately with this race, I actually ended up on the top 3 choices. I have Special Land. I have a B with a question mark, which for me usually means it's between an A and a B. So there's probably a good chance that gets moved up to an A. But I'm also going to use the one tax implications. I just think that last race, the kind of to your point where you were talking about the First Lady. I mean, the matriarch is basically the same thing. That Sacred Wish, Gina Romantica, Ag Bullet, like just good horses in there, right? That aren't in this spot. And I mean that horse was 20. This horse is 20-1 in that spot. Obviously, is 4-1 in here, but that figure came back pretty good. I believe on time form, we're looking at about a 119. But what I really like about this horse is consistent, right? I mean, this horse has been throwing consistent high 119s. Has got one in the low 120s there on time form. And I kind of feel like that's like the figure that you need. I think like about a 120 is going to win this, right? In our time, looks like a horse that's kind of trained up to that like 120 range on time form. And then Special Wan ran a 127 unadjusted last time due to the fast pace. They actually kind of brought it down to a 124. They pace adjusted it. But even that 124, I mean, is the fastest figure in the field. So, yeah, those 3 horses kind of seem clear for me. And I mean, it's kind of boring. I mean, I guess you could look at a horse like the 2 See You Around. Ran a pretty decent figure last time at Tampa, but I mean, I don't know. It's a Christophe Clement IRAS getting aboard. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the type of like well meant Christophe horses. So,
So Josh, I got a question for you here. Did they suddenly move this race to Monmouth or something? Because you realize tax implications only won at Monmouth, right?
So, am I betting a fake Chad, Caleb?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Good, cool. I also thought it was a fake Chad.
Even Mark called you on the fake Chad. So I hope you feel good.
Oh, that's bad. Well, I'm not straying. I'm using the 1. I'm using the 7. I'm using the 8. Top pick is going to be the 8 in our time, but I'm going to use the other 2 as well as A's. Mark, before we get to Caleb, what else did you like in here?
Yeah, I had some prices I liked in here. I thought a horse like the 10 Life's an Audible was interesting. Adding Johnny V hops up last time out. I realized that was on funny dirt, but a horse that I thought might still have some upside. Not a ton slower than anybody else in here, and then I also, did like, see you around a little bit as well, who Arad was on two back, won a race at Gulfstream, and he apparently, it looks like he had choice here in a few, and he ends up landing on see you around instead of getting on some of the bigger trainers he rides for a lot. Thought that was a little bit interesting as well. But besides that, and I also, well, I guess I'll throw it back. I even thought you could make somebody, and God, you got to squint a little bit, but somebody like a Cairo Consort, who, it's been a while, but, a horse that does have some back figures that fit here and at a pretty big price. So I thought there was some ways you could go in here beyond just the more likely winners or the shorter prices in here. But interested to see where Caleb landed in this one, because this is a race in the sequence, probably the one that I had the toughest time with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I have a super strong opinion in this race. The first thing I kind of noticed is it didn't seem like there was a ton of pace in here. So the more I kind of looked at it, I'm like, in our time, I mean, is he the favorite in here, 7-2? Yeah, I guess he is.
Yeah.
It feels kind of bad, but it does just feel like he kind of gets to run the race in here. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of horses that really want to go with him. So I thought that he controls this race, and we know that the connections do well here. They win at Gulfstream, and I do wonder if the ever so slight cutback from a mile and a 16th to a mile might be what kind of makes the difference. As he just got a little bit leg weary in his last two starts. So I do think in our time is a big player in here, just given the pace advantage, it looks like he's going to hold on to. Mark, I joined late. I assume you talked about the 7 Special One.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the opinion the Keeneland figs are too fast, but I think even if that is too fast, I think the horse is still a player in here. So I'm kind of willing to sort of overlook that, I guess. But I mean, just we're getting a big class drop more than anything else. Coming into a Grade 3 company, coming out of a pretty salty Grade 1. And then the only other horse I kind of gave, maybe somewhat of a look to, and probably will need to improve in order to get a piece of this. But that was the number 9 Pounce. The horse ran fine in the Pegasus Filly and Mare Turf. Ran 4th in an 11-horse field. Was mid-pack pretty much the whole way, passed a few late. Not a ton of passing going on in that race. I mean, in our time, set the pace, faded to 3rd. The other Saffy horse, Be Your Best, sat 2nd the whole time and overtook them turning for home. Sacred Wish, is the only horse that really closed at all, and even she was only like 5th, I think. So there wasn't a ton of passing going on in general in that race. So I thought that Pounce ran fine and now gets back to a slightly easier company, I would say. 4-year-old filly still has some upside. And we know that she likes Gulfstream, where she has posted, 2 wins out of 3 starts. And then that only time missing the board was in the Pegasus. So I can kind of give a bit of an excuse there. She kind of went off form last year for a bit, but it seems like she won't be rounding back into form. And she's just one that I thought has maybe more upside than some of the others who I think we've seen enough from. So she's one that, 6-1 maybe isn't the right price there, but one that I'd say is in with a shot who could win with some improvement.
All right. Anything else in this race? I see. Nick's got some great comments here. First of all, he says he can't wait for the next 2 weeks, Tampa Bay and Virginia Derby, and he gets to watch Caleb handicap his favorite tracks. So Caleb's gonna be just in love with that. And Caleb, I feel so bad for you because like earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday, you're like, finally a good weekend of racing.
I know.
And what are you going to have to deal with this weekend?
Yeah. Fixing the computer in Florida.
Fixing the computer in what?
In Florida.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully I can get it fixed quickly. Thankfully, I got a backup laptop that works fine. So I'll be making it work.
Yeah, because Stephen Fox is just like jonesing for some Gulfstream action. So I know he's gonna definitely want to get some of your insight there. But yeah, Nick Sievers, he says he's 2-6 as A's, and he's 1-4 as B's. So that's he likes See You Around and Ozara, which is a horse that we didn't talk about. Um, it's the Christophe Clement with the right jockey with Joel Rosario aboard. Um, but I thought this horse looked, because I kind of looked at this one just because, Joel was aboard instead of the other Christophe. But I thought this horse just looked too slow. I don't know if you looked at this horse at all, Mark.
Yeah, I did. There was, I don't know. Yeah, too slow. And I mean, horse does like to win and does have 3 wins going this trip. So there's definitely some things to like. I understand how you can get back there, but just on paper seems really, really too slow. But again, so horses are prone to take that 3 to 4 year old improvement. Maybe this one takes a step forward. Off the fig off that last Tampa race. Maybe a player, but it felt like there was a lot of asterisks, and you kind of need the right price in here.
Yeah, I kind of discounted her a bit off the Tampa race, but her body of work before that was strong. She has every right to improve second off the layoff here. And she does seem to fit the race that doesn't have a ton of speed where, with another jockey, I'd expect her to be sitting, second or third. So, but yeah, at 12-1, I think that's a good enough price to take a shot there for sure.
Anything else in here? Okay, I'm doing what I should not do, and that's playing the run back pick 3 right now at Turfway. So firing that in here.
Wait,
Mark,
what do you have here?
I'm gonna. So I had 5, 7, 8, 13.
Well, let's get the 5 or the 7 then.
So I basically ran the pick 3 back, and I dropped the 8 because I don't need a 5-2 in my life right now.
Oh, so we're both fading the chalk. Oh, this is going to end great, Josh.
Yeah. Well, I like we were saying. I think the profile of the track is. I was playing it to be more fair, but I'm guessing that it is playing a little bit more forward. And I mean, I think the 13, the 7 are both are going to be more forward. I really like the 7 in this spot actually, and I'm liking the 7-1. So I'm going to fire a win bet on the 7 too. But yeah, I'd like this. I like this. Maybe even a 7-13. Exacto. Why don't we do that too? Fire that in here. But Caleb, I know you're catching up, so I'm assuming you didn't look at Turfway at all.
I did not look at Turfway. That is correct.
Yeah. And then Russ mentioning that stalkers have had the edge on turf routes at Gulf Scheme, so he thinks stalkers are the play there. But no, I actually don't have Turfway out. Where's Turfway at? Where the heck where did I put Turfway? Let me find my Turfway Park form here real quick. There it is. So we are in race 8 here. Mark, you got a pick 4 going right now, right?
No. I played a double.
I played a double. What do you got here?
5 or 7.
5 or 7. Okay.
Yep, from 5 or 7. I cash out to the 5 or the 7. So.
Yeah, I really like the 7 here. The 7 looked really good on optics. The 7 looks pretty good on Brisnet, and the 7 also looked really good on time form, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that last race looks really, really strong in here. Honestly, like the 8 looks okay, but like I don't know. I mean, those are kind of dirt. Those are dirt races, and this is the first time on a synthetic. It was 50-1 last time in the turf stakes, and like that figure was fine, but like, its only win is a maiden race where it was even money at Indiana Grand. So Um, yeah, they're walking to the gate here, but we'll start talking a little bit here about the Fountain of Youth. It's the second leg, the Coast to Coast Pick 5. Mile and 16th on the dirt. We got 50 Derby points here, and yeah, kind of a small field actually for Gulf Stream
You can
Park.
say it, scheme.
Yeah, Gulf Scheme. I know he's got it all in my head, but kind of a small field I think for them. They tend to usually draw pretty big fields, and um, this was a little interesting. 2-1 on the 6 River Thames. You get 5-2 on Burnham Square, 3-1 on the 2 Sovereignty or I can't even fucking pronounce it. I don't know what the hell's going
You've
on.
turned into me, man. God.
I have turned into you. 6-1 Gate to Wire, 8-1 Keep It Easy. Mark, where did you land here?
Yeah, I think that you really have to start with the two short price horses, Burnham Square and River Thames. And I think Burnham's. It was. I was really sort of found it interesting that Morning Line Maker chose to make River Thames, coming out of an optional 75, the favorite over the winner of the Holy Bull, which is technically the prep for this race, and is going this trip in Burnham Square. I think Burnham Square, has won 2 in a row. I thought that the Holy Bull was fine, and the figure came back quite good for it. And this is also one of those horses that is kind of improved every one of his 4 career starts. Doesn't really probably need to take much of a huge step forward here to be a major player in this race. And I thought Burnham Square was just kind of the horse to beat. I'll be against River Thames. I don't like horses that when they stretch out, this one debuted at 6, won by 4 3/4, and then goes to a mile and wins by 6.5. But the figure was actually quite a bit slower on every product that I look at, with River Thames. So, I don't like these types in a horse that I don't necessarily know if McLean's Music want to go 2 turns. I think these are the type that very often they end up being those 7 furlong or 1 turn mile type horses. I guess I want to see that this one can really handle 2 turns before I get too interested in him. I thought there were some other interested horses in here. I thought Gate to Wire, who I thought has, I realize it is a Spikestown on the top, but I thought that Swale was a really nice race. It's nice to see that they finally figured out that, oh, hey, we have a dirt horse here. Again, figure came back pretty solid for that race as well. So I thought somebody like Gate to Wire, the 1, was also, a pretty interesting player in here who looks to be like 3rd price on the morning line. But I'll throw it over to one of you guys, kind of get some where you sort of landed, because yeah, I thought it was one of those races that I thought those were the 3 major players, but there were also other directions you could go. So
Yeah, I ended up on the 1 Gate to Wire here. I like this horse stretching out. So I went with the 1 Gate to Wire. I thought that Swale figure is just huge compared to I think what a lot of other horses in this race have run. And yeah, I think there is a little bit of concern, like you said, Mark, about that horse stretching out, whether whether the breeding says that horse should take the stretch out, but like we're talking about a horse that's basically 5 points faster than anybody else in this race, and the only horse that's like I said close to him in that 5 points is my other choice, which is the 3 Burnham Square, which is a horse I think that's been proven at the proven kind of at the distance, right? Has done the route distance, and I think is a horse that's just kind of improved each start. And I think is a type of horse that you kind of really like to see on the Derby Trail, right? One that's got 4 starts, 4 consecutive improvements, right? And I think it's just one of those horses that might maybe just peaking at the right time, So, the 115 time form last time out, it's a 101 on Briz. I mean, that's nothing to scoff at. I like Burnham Square here a lot. I don't want anything to do with the 6 River Thames. I think this is just an absolute takeout reducer here. I don't want anything to do with that 6. So I have most of my money going to be going through this 3 and the 1. I don't really think I need anybody else. Caleb.
Yeah, I see the race pretty similar to both of y'all. I would say Burnham Square is my top pick. Nothing too creative there, I guess, but the horse has a combined length away from being undefeated in 4 starts. It just blew the doors off his maiden score and then won going away in the Holy Bull. We don't know how strong the Holy Bull was. We haven't really seen many runbacks or any runbacks, I think, from that race yet. But the figure came back strong. This is a horse that's progressively improved in each and every start. He's already proven to get the distance. He likes Gulfstream. Zayas understands how to ride this horse. He's very versatile. He can sit just off. He can close. He has plenty of options in here. So I think he's just a very logical horse in this spot. I'm with both of you about River Thames. Not a horse for me. I can't help but get a little bit of like Mind Frame kind of vibes a little bit on this horse, where he kind of comes out of nowhere with a big maiden score and then comes and romps again. But for me, it's more about the spacing of these races. Pletcher is on the record saying he wanted to debut this horse at Saratoga, and there was injuries and other things that kind of got in the way. And now they're admittedly really rushing to get onto a schedule that would allow them to make the gate come the first Saturday in May. So you don't often see Pletcher running his horses 3 times in 7 weeks. And I just think that this horse might be coming back a little too soon for just his 3rd career start. Especially for a horse that has some injury history already, despite being just a twice raced 3-year-old. So maybe the talent is enough to overcome it. Maybe he is the goods, but as the favorite or 2-1 or whatever short price he ends up going off at, he's just not one that I really need. And that's kind of, I didn't really love anybody else, truthfully. I saw there were being a pretty honest pace in here, as long as there's no scratches between, River Thames, the 7 Neokoi, potentially the 8 Keep It Easy, and then potentially even the 1 from the rail with Gate to Wire. A lot of sprinters stretching out in here, a lot of horses that want to be forward. So I kind of thought it set up well for a horse like Burnham Square or a horse like Sovereignty. That's another horse that hasn't been out since October, so we don't really know what version of Sovereignty we're going to get, given that he hasn't been seen in a while. But winning that Street Sense, he won going away by 5 lengths and beat a pretty good field. I mean, Sandman and Tiztastic have both knocked on the door on the Arkansas circuit. We were running whatever it was, 2nd in the Southwest, and then 3rd or 4th in the Rebel. So those races have come back pretty strong. So I do think that he gets a good setup here. The big question is just how fit is he going to be off the layoff, and how cranked is he going to be? Is this a stepping stone towards the Florida Derby, or is he going to be totally tuned up for this? And at 3-1, I'm not sure if that's the right price to take that bet, but he is one that I was interested in. For me, Gate to Wire was the wild card. I don't think he wants to stretch out. I mean, they very clearly thought they had a turf sprinter. He won the Swale very impressively with a huge figure, but he just doesn't really strike me as one that, out of Munnings, that really wants to go a 2-turn mile and a 16th. Admittedly, if there's anywhere you can probably get that, despite not being bred for it, it probably is Gulfstream with the short stretch and the way that speed tends to carry here, and he should save all the ground. So he's got a lot of things breaking in his favor, and at 6-1, I could probably take a shot and say maybe he can get this mile and a 16th, but he'd be like a distant 3rd pick for me.
Yeah, I saw Nick did mention about the 6 that on Timeform, right? They had that day as a closer favoring day, and River Thames was able to go wire to wire in there. I mean, I don't know if you upgrade that at all.
I mean, I don't know that I necessarily. I mean, I love that angle. Like, I love the against the bias angle. I definitely play that all the time. In that race, speed ran 1-2-3. I mean, so I don't know that I really buy the fact that Timeform thinks there was a bias. I mean, this horse sat 2nd and he ended up winning. The horse that was 3rd finished 2nd. The horse that was 1st finished 3rd. So, like, I don't know that I really buy that it was this big closer bias that he overcame. I just think maybe, we'll see. But in general, I do love the angle. I just don't know if I would apply it there.
Anything else in that race?
Nope.
All right.
By the way, Josh, we both got boomed by the horse we both last minute tossed.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
like I said, I had him on all my
tickets.
I had him on all my tickets, but like I said, I was just like, trying
I made the
to.
8. I made the 8 a defensive B, so you know how that works out.
Yeah, and then we'll see. What did I end up doing here? Yeah, and it looks like the 9 is just getting bet off the board.
Yeah.
The 10 though, maybe we'll get a little bit of value on. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on the Turfway board, see if we play something there. A little late double. Try to make some money back here. All right, let's move on. Race 3 here. It's my I feel like that's not the name of this race. What's the name of this race, Mark?
Are we going to Santa Anita?
No, it's still race 3. Race 3 is it the Mac Diarmida? Or am I making that up? That feels like it's wrong.
Mac Diarmida Stakes is what it's listed as. Yeah, I think that's one. I think this is one of those stakes that got renamed. I don't know what it was before, but
Why did I think it was something different? Oh, yeah, it is a Mac Diarmida. Okay.
Yep.
I don't know why, dude. I thought it was something different. Mac Diarmida Stakes here. Grade 2, mile and 3/8 on the turf. This is actually a really cool race. I thought this was one of the tougher races. I thought this was probably the toughest race in the sequence. And your morning line favorite is going to be the 9 Grand Sonata at 7-2, 9-2 on Missed the Cut. And then, you get 5-1 on Cash Equity, 6-1 on Sugoi, and 6-1 on Dashman, 8-1 on Cathkin Peak, and Anglophile, double digits on everybody else. It feels like a pretty flat race here. Caleb, I'll give you a minute to collect your thoughts. So, I landed on 2 horses as A's and 2 horses as B's. I'm going to use the 4 Missed the Cut here. I have that as an A. A horse that has shown to be forwardly placed. We haven't seen much of this horse because they decided to send this horse over to Ascot, where he ended up running 9th in a Group 2 over at Ascot, and we haven't seen it since. So maybe a little concerned about the long layoff, but this horse has fired okay fresh the last couple times. So I do like Missed the Cut here. I mean, if we get a little bit of speed that might be carrying, I actually really like the 11 Cathkin Peak in the spot. I love the stretch out for this horse. I think that this is a horse that has run pretty well going that 1.5 mile+ distance. I mean, you look at that John's Call, obviously ran won that race by open lengths, and went wire to wire. And I think this is just one of those horses that on the stretch out, right, is gonna show some good speed. I think there's another horse. I know there's another horse in here that I think ran in that 2-mile race that was on the lead. What race? What horse is that? The 2 Prevent, right? But that's a freaking 2-mile race, right? Like, who the heck knows? Like this. I mean, this horse has shown some speed, so maybe the 11's gonna get a little bit of pace pressure, but I really like the 11. I think I like getting the going the 3/8 of a mile here. I just think that this is gonna be that I thought this horse was stretching out. This horse is actually cutting back, but I thought that this horse has shown some good speed, and I don't know. I just thought that they're outside of maybe that the 2 horse that there wasn't all that much speed, but on top of it, like I said, I like the 4 Missed the Cut. The 2 other horses I'm going to use as B's, obviously Cash Equity. If you're a time form believer, this horse has got to be on your tickets, because this is a horse that, like I said last time, ran a really nice race going that mile and a half. And it was the first time that this horse had run that distance here in the U.S. So maybe it's just one that wants that extra distance. So I like to see that horse, staying, pretty close to that distance here in this spot. And then I thought the 8 Sugoi is just another horse that has run really good races going these longer distances. You see the races that are like mile and 16th, mile and a quarter. They're not nearly as good as the ones that are going, mile and 3/8, mile and a half. So I just thought this is another one kind of getting back to the right type of distance here. I thought would be you'd see a pretty good improvement here. So I'm going to use those 4 horses. Mark, where did you land?
So well, I don't want to beat you up too much. I was just going to mention though that you mentioned. Well, I'll mention the horse when I get there. So I think in this race, there's quite a few of these that I think this distance is a little bit suspect for them. And there's some of the horses they're going to take a little bit of money. So I wanted to try to find some horses in here that I think this is the trip that they actually really want. They're solid going these types of distances. And that there's a little jockey karaoke in here that I thought was, or jockey whatever, carousel, I guess. I mean, not karaoke. God, I'm doing it again. And I thought there's some jockeys that jumped around that I thought was somewhat interesting. So first horse I'll start off with is the 9 Grand Sonata, who has 2 wins across his Gulfstream surface. Doesn't have a win going this trip, but has a win going, an extra 8th further at the mile and a half trip. So, this is what Grand Sonata wants to be doing. Needs a little bit of pace set up front. Hopefully he'll end up getting it in here. I think there's enough pace signed on up, on the front end to at least make this honest. And he should be the one, I think in this field that's most likely to be flying home late. And I thought it was pretty interesting that, Cash Equity throws a huge figure in the previous race with a rad up, and a rad sees fit to jump off and hop over into Grand Sonata this time out. And I don't really know the background there, or what actually happened. But I did find that a little bit interesting. And the other horse that I was most interested in is the horse that beat Josh's 5 Cash Equity last time out, and that's the 12 Dashman. Gets loose eyes up. Should be a little bit more forwardly placed than somebody like Grand Sonata. And a horse that, as they've stretched this one out, seems to kind of be getting better and better. Figure came back absolutely huge out of that McKnight last out. And I think Dashman, who seems to be in really good form, right back, clearly likes this Gulfstream Park surface, is a pretty major player in here, and it would probably be my top pick if you were to force me to make one. So hopefully Caleb's had enough time to catch up and has some opinions here, and then I can throw out some other prices as we go along.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of go off what you said, Mark, Dashman is my top pick in here as well. And I think you actually, if I remember right, and I usually hate giving you credit, but I think you tipped this horse during our Pegasus stream. I think. I mean, I think everybody in the world was, against the Applebee's, or if I remember, except for Josh, who was eating chalk that whole day. But yeah, I think you like this horse, and looking back, I mean, he did kind of fit this race, and he fit that race too a little bit. But for me, I mean, this is a horse that if you look at him on time form, he's legitimately never taken a backward step. I mean, he has 8 races, and each race is a little bit faster than the previous race. And it's not just the fact that he's a very progressive horse, but he's not taking huge jumps. So I don't think there's a big risk of him taking a big regression off that last win or anything like that, because it isn't like he jumped up 10 or 15 points. He jumps up 6, 8, 4, 5 points each race. And last time, I mean, got the job done despite having, to come from a pretty wide post, like he's going to have to do again this time. Gets a furlong shorter, but I don't think that's going to be any problem for him at all. So, yeah, Dashman would be my top selection in here. So as much as I agree with you about Dashman, as much as I disagree with you about Grand Sonata, it was a complete takeout reducer in this field, and a fake Todd if I've ever seen one. So I don't think that horse has a prayer. But I like Dashman. I'm with you there. And otherwise, I kind of agreed with a couple of the horses Josh mentioned. I think Miss the Cut. I don't know, what to do with this horse, because his last 4 races or before going overseas were really good. But it is a big layoff. Cherie has not had a ton of success so far at Gulfstream. You got to wonder what version of this horse we're getting now as a 6-year-old. There's just some questions, and 9-2 is maybe not the price I want for a horse that has some questions to answer, even if you forgive the Ascot race where he was clearly in over his head. There is a price where that horse makes sense to me, but I don't know that it's 9-2. And I'm also a little bit puzzled at Gaffleone taking that mount. Kind of to your point earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is not a typical Cherie rider, especially when you have Irad on a horse that doesn't have a chance, and you have Saez on a horse that he's only ridden once. So like, I don't know where Jose is at. Maybe he's at Oaklawn or Fairgrounds, but I just thought that was a little bit odd. That's not a typical jock that she seems to go to. So for me, he's probably the one I'm the most lukewarm about that I may still end up including in some form or fashion. But I do prefer Josh's other two runners more. Sugoi especially would be my second choice in here, kind of for all the reasons Josh talked about. This is just a remarkably consistent runner who was able to get this distance, is able to go to the lead, is able to come off the pace. Frankie travels out, picks up the mount. And Cathkin Peak, don't know that he really wants to, wire this field at this point of his career, but he's sure going to take him as far as he can, as long as he can. And at Gulfstream, that can be dangerous. You have a phenomenal speed rider up in Paco Lopez, who's back from his timeout, and he's been winning. So he's one that I would respect given the pace advantage and the connections here. Mike Maker knows how to stretch a horse out on the grass. So I agree with Josh on most of his picks, but I do think Dashman would be my top play.
Take that, Mark. All right, but you said you got prices, Mark, so let's fucking hear them.
I thought they were priced good, and they were. Nah, you guys already talked about all of them. I thought there was some. I'm thinking of the wrong race. My bad.
Oh, okay. See, we finally given Mark the space to take a price, and he backs off.
He panics.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on then. Let's go here to race 4, the Frank E. Kilroe Mile, and I think this is kind of a 2-horse race if you're a speed figure believer, between the 1 Mi Hermano Ramon and the 3 El Potente, I just think that the 1 Mi Hermano Ramon is just better of the 2 horses. You get Flavian Pratt aboard here. I mean, the horse has basically not done anything wrong. Horse has been working really well since that last run in the Pegasus, and I just think that this is going to set up nicely here for the 1 horse. I mean, like I said, the fact that Flavian's like, this is the horse I want to ride in this race, I think just says enough. And I mean, if you look at speed figures, I mean, this just looks like. I mean, I think this horse is definitely a head above even the 3 El Potente. I just think it's more consistent, right? I think the 3 kind of ran a really nice race last time out. As a 6-year-old, and it just seemed like a bit of an outlier figure, whereas I think the 1's just a more consistent horse. So I tend to just believe that the 1's got the kind of the advantage here, and I don't want to play around with 2 short prices in this race. So I'll just single the 1. That's going to be my lone A. Caleb, where did you land? I know you're the Santa Anita expert here.
I mean, I think we can. I mean, maybe Mark's going to make some excuse for like Rispoli or something like that. But I mean, I think it's very clearly a 2-horse race, and I think it is between the 1 and the 3. And for me, it's difficult to separate them. The way that the 1 is probably a little more class tested recently. Coming off that big layoff, from 23 to 24, this horse has just gotten better and better. I mean, has never been quite that good. Has never really been a legit graded stakes horse, and then came back as a 4-year-old last year and just really went on a tear. And only posting 1 win in there, has definitely posted some really impressive runner-up finishes. Ran huge in the Pegasus, I thought, when he was close to a pace that pretty much fell apart. And you had horses like Spirit of St. Louis and Integration and Chasing the Crown coming from the absolute clouds. This horse never really quit, just continued kind of grinding away despite being probably a bit too close to that hot pace and maybe moving a bit too early. As much as I love Luis Saez, I do think Pratt's a better fit for this kind of a horse who needs to kind of time that run a little more carefully. I probably give the nod to the one, Mi Hermano Ramon in this race, but I respect the 3 for sure. I mean, El Potente has done genuinely nothing wrong, but I think your point about really, I mean, he's 6 now, and they were giving this horse away last year. I mean, they were putting him in maiden claiming 40, 50, and they couldn't give this horse away. They brought him through optional claimers, allowances, restricted stakes races, and now he's going to be 2-1 in a grade 1. And I get it. He deserves to be 2-1. He's been extremely impressive, and the whole damn Blacker Barn has been just on fire recently. I think he's like 70% or something like that. So this horse loves Santa Anita. This is his distance. It's his trip. He doesn't need the lead, but he sure can get it if he wants it. So for me, it's a 1A, 1B scenario. I don't know. I think the more interesting question of this race is how are you going to play it in this sequence? Do you take both short prices and just say, I'll find my value elsewhere and just try to get out of it? Or do you kind of force a single onto one of the two? Or do you take one and then chuck one and look for prices? I mean, I guess I'll ask the man who's never lost to a favorite because he uses them all. Mark, how would you approach this?
I'm going to use both of them here. Again, I think that's the I had the same thought as you guys. I think they're 1A and 1B. You can go either way you want to. They're your most two most obvious winners. And I think in something like a pick 5, there are people out there that will try to throw the dart and say, oh geez, I think this one's better than that one. But I think I think that's. I don't know. I think you hurt yourself in the long term. I think there's times where you say, geez, I could find, you find those, I don't want to pick on Caleb, but I know this has happened a few times where Caleb's like, oh geez, I found this 10-1 here and I found this 10-1 there. And then I fade a chalk and I get boomed by the fact that, first or second choice wins. And I, miss a 5-figure score because I got a little too cute in one leg. I think this is just one of those legs. You don't get cute. You use them both. I think there's other places in this sequence you can find value in. And again, I very much to what both of you had said, I have a hard time drawing a line between the two of them. I think I'd probably agree with you that I think the one is the more likely winner, just in the fact of I wonder if how honest does Air Force Red keep El Potente on the front end, and I think he keeps him pretty honest. I think they're both pretty similarly fast early, and so if he softens them up a little bit, it should set up for the one a little bit more than the 3, I would think, if you're forcing me to pick one of the two. But I think I'll just use both and find value other places.
Yeah, I have nothing really else to add to this race. I mean, if you're looking for like a horse underneath, I think the 6 Zio Joe is one that is a little bit interesting. He should be a huge price in here, and just never really got comfortable last out in the Thunder Road, but 2 back in the Seabiscuit, he did have a pretty bad trip, and then he was on a pretty good run heading into that. So I think the form's a little bit dirty here. These connections won't be bet. But he likes Santa Anita, he likes a mile, and I don't think he beats either of the top 2 if they show up with their B+ game. But I think that if you're trying to find a way to find value in this race, I mean, keying him in second or third might be a way to do that.
Did either of you guys give Cabo Spirit any look in here? And I mean, I realize he's going to be, well, they say it's going to be 20-1. I don't know if you actually get that, but if you figure that the you have the 2 and the 3 ripping along on the front end, Cabo Spirit should kind of sit that pocket trip just behind, I would imagine, and get kind of first run if that comes apart at a stupid price. I mean, not a horse that I really love, but I thought at that morning line, he was at least a little bit interesting.
I mean, I think he's a need to lead horse that isn't fast enough to get it. I mean, if you look at his PPs, I don't think he's ever passed a horse in the past 10 races. So I just don't. He might get the pocket trip, but that's the best place he'll finish in my book.
Okay.
But cool. He'll be a huge price. So I mean, if somebody take your shot that maybe he gets out there and it does try to wire it or does rate, then it's a big price. I mean, he has figures way back that probably do kind of fit. So
I think I like him going longer. I just don't think that the mile is I like you said, Caleb. I think he's fast early, but like he's fast early going like a mile and a quarter, not a mile. So I mean, if you look back, was it the John Henry that he wired, right? I mean, that's a mile and a quarter race, and even that race kind of came back. At least on Brisnet came back a little slow. I'm sure on Timeform probably liked it a little bit better. Yeah, Timeform gave it like a 123. Um, so yeah, he's got some back races, but I feel like all of them are longer. I just don't think he like this is the distance for him. I think he just wants to go longer. He's just like one of those. He's just one of those horses that has got some speed and has got a little bit of stamina in him, but like he's not he's not a miler. I think he's just gonna want to go longer. But
And by the way, Caleb, because you mentioned it before, Jose Ortiz is actually in Santa Anita to ride the 5. So make of that what you will.
I sure hope that's not the horse he went out there for.
I can't figure out who else on the card he's here to ride. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I did the same thing. I looked at the horse and was like, why? This makes 0 sense. But interesting.
is he riding anyone in the big cap?
I don't think he has him out in the big cap. If
He's unlocked.
Yeah, he's unlocked.
Oh, is he
That's what
unlocked?
he's there
Okay,
for.
okay.
He's unlocked.
Okay. Who can't win? But okay.
Which I guess maybe, something to consider. He's ridden lock before, right? But Johnny V's got the mount call the last 3 times. Johnny V stays in Florida to ride River Thames. Does that make you think any differently of that horse in the Fountain of Youth?
I mean, I guess I was against the horse in the Fountain of the Youth, so it didn't really change my opinion there. No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't make you like him or not like him. Just like, I don't know. It's always interesting to see. I mean, this is a grade 1 in Santa Anita, right? I mean, that's a big purse. So for Johnny V to stick around in Florida, he must at least like his shot. So just something.
It doesn't. I'm trying to think who's Jose Ortiz got. I don't even know if he has a Derby. I don't know if is he on one of the major players for the Derby. I am not sure. So he may already think that he's got the horse he wants.
All right, they're off at Turfway here. I saw Nick. He's got a 10, 8, 12 double. Mark, you went 9, 10, 2. I actually went 6, 10. 6, 10 to 8, 10, 12. So please, for the love of God, let's get this 10. But I thought this 10 was going to go to the lead, and he's not. They let this 3 kind of get up there, and they're kind of like all bunched up behind him. So it's not like they're letting him get away, but he looks like he's doing it pretty easy. And I think the 10, is that the 10 making a move now?
The 9 came rolling up on the inside, but
this 3 looks, I mean, he's just chilling up there. God, they're gonna let another horse just kind of. Yeah, they went 50 for that second. Are you kidding me? They really let him slow that down, and he's gone. Oh, maybe
I love how much behind me you are. I don't know if that 9's gonna be able to get there though.
No one's catching the 3. God, man. I did not have that 3 on the lead whatsoever. Did I just miss that? Like, what is up with that? Race 9. No, I didn't have that 3 up there on that. Let's look at here. Biscuitsa just was like, hey, I'm gonna get the lead and I'm gonna go, and everyone was like, sure, we'll let you get it.
Says Biscuit can read a track bias and nobody else here can.
I mean, I already had choice words for Able Steel earlier on this card, so.
Of course, I shouldn't be saying that if they went 50 to the half. I mean, anybody with 3
I mean,
cells,
they just
you're gonna walk.
let him get away with it. Oh man, this is just ridiculous. I saw Nick asking why are you against Neat, and I know you briefly talked about Neat, Mark, but was there anything about this horse that
just not fast enough? I mean, if the horse takes a big step forward since some of those races last year, maybe the horse could be interesting, but just to me is much too slow.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think we had a very good 3-year-old crop of turf horses last year. So I think some of those wins are maybe a little less impressive in retrospect.
All right. Last race, the big cap. 1.25 here, presented by Yamava Resort and Casino, not the casino that we went to because this one was a lot further than the one we went to, Caleb, where your dad raged about those cards. We'll have to let him know that we're playing real craps next week.
That's right.
I'm sure he'll be happy to know that yes, the dice actually count. It's not the cards. But we get a field of 9. I didn't know we had 9 older horses in California running, but apparently we do. And 3-2 unlocked, 5-2 on Hit Show. You get 6-1 on Miramati, 8-1 on Katona, 8-1 on U King, double digits on everybody else. Mark, where did you land here?
Oh, geez. Yeah, so as I kind of alluded to earlier, I'm somewhat against locked, and I don't know, I don't have a great reason to sort of dislike locked, beyond the fact that I think you're kind of betting locked on that one race. Freaks throws a huge figure up in the Cigar Mile, and then ends up, didn't run a bad, got beat by White Abario. Fine, White Abario is an absolute monster. We know that fact. But I think locked has to, find that sort of Cigar Mile form again. To be a major player in here. And I know we all kind of think that Aqueduct figures are a little bit suspect, and I know at times they are. So I don't really believe that figure. And I don't know. It just lock gives me sort of weird feelings in here, and so I'm somewhat against locked. I ended up, I think my top choice in here is Hit Show, who at least has backed up some of those figures. You know that this is a horse that on his best day can win again, that low 120s time form, which makes him a major player in here. I think this is kind of his trip as well. And then the other horse that I was actually really interested in here I'm assuming that this morning line is just absolutely terrible, is the 4 horse JB Strikes Back, who is a horse that popped a 120 time form last out with Fresu up. Should be kind of controlling speed in here. I'm assuming that they're going to the front end. There's probably quite a bit more pace in this race than there was in that last. But I think this is a horse that's going to be an absolutely stupid price, and I don't quite know why, given the fact that he's won 3 in a row and seems to be the right run style for this track and in pretty darn solid form right now. So that's kind of how I saw it. But there's a lot of different ways that you can go in here. Kind of interested to see how you guys go, and then we can talk about some other horses.
Caleb, you want to go? Or you want me to go?
Yeah, I can go. And I struggled a bit because my opinion of locked is largely the same as Mark. I thought his last race was ugly. And yeah, he had a little bit of trouble at the break, but I mean, he just looked like a ploddy grinder to me. Like there was no real explosiveness. There was no real acceleration. He was never really in the race for that matter. Even though he finished second, I don't think he ever made the frame of the camera. I mean, he was so far behind different zip codes than White Abario that day. And his prior race looked so good in the Cigar Mile, and then 2 back in the optional claimer, that I just kind of wonder. I mean, is this a horse that, is maybe, over the top a little bit? Did he bounce off the Cigar Mile? Does he just not ship very well, perhaps? I mean, most of those races that he's won did come at, New York. I mean, other than, I guess, the Keeneland race, but his one trip out west to, Santa Anita was just a beaten third as the favorite, well-beaten third. So, I mean, he's got talent, but I just thought his last race wasn't visually impressive. He also regressed on figures compared to that Cigar Mile. And kind of to Mark's point, if you kind of discount that Cigar Mile, which Winter Aqueduct figures are always kind of suspect, he's just a player in here. He's no standout. And in fact, he's probably about mid-pack in terms of where he fits. Mm-hmm. The only reason I'm not totally saying he can't win this race is because it feels like the pace just sets up for him perfectly in this race. I mean, the way I see it is there's a ton of speed in here. I mean, horses like, Mark's horse, who I agree shouldn't be 30-1. The number 4, JB Strikes Back, almost has to go to the front. Miramati almost has to go to the front. You have horses like Mighty Mammoth, Tarantino. To me, it just seems like you almost have 4 need the lead types in this race. 3 if you decide to think that Miramati is going to learn how to rate, but I don't think Miramati really has any ability, so that doesn't really matter. So for me, I am looking for closers. I do think Hit Show, despite the fact that I've been a skeptic of his for a long time, he does fit this race with the flow and in terms of how the pace is likely to set up. I was counting my money in Louisiana with
without the flow,
who I'm not going to pronounce, Como Rabino Amoid, and Hit Show swallowed me, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, I just think he's gotten really good as a 4 and 5-year-old now, despite the fact he took a bit of a soft path, as a 4-year-old. He is getting good. I mean, he is in genuine, legit G1 company now, and we'll see if he is this good. But I didn't really want to take a short price on him either. So I was desperately trying to find another horse that I could find a way to use. And the one that I like begrudgingly landed on is the number 2, New King, who I guess would be the other Baffert in this race, assuming that Miramati is the one who takes the money. And yeah, I get it. Like Pratt and Hernandez are both in town. They don't end up on this horse. Mike Smith is 117 years old. I mean, I get it, But at the end of the day, this is still Santa Anita. It's Bob's backyard. There's a lot of speed in this race. And the one thing that kind of stuck out to me with him is that, if you look at his races on Timeform anyway, he's got 2 wins. Both of those were over tracks that Timeform kind of coded as fair, without any bias designation. His 3 losses were all dark red color coded, indicating an extreme speed bias. And that's not too surprising because it is Santa Anita. That happens sometimes. So yes, there could be a speed bias this Saturday. I mean, he could be up against it again. But to me, there's enough speed in here that I'm looking for an off the pace runner. I don't trust Locked off his last effort. Hit Show, I don't know if he's truly a grade 1 horse, and he's going to be a short second price in this race. I'll have Hit Show on a ticket, but I thought New King might be the horse making his 5th or 6th career start. That seems to be kind of, to Mark's point, or to Mark's angle rather, almost maybe like in every other kind, so maybe not sitting on a peak effort here, but I'm willing to chalk that up to a bias and just say he might be one that just inherits the right trip and not really be the best horse in the race, but might just get the best trip and the best ride in a race that sets up for him.
So wait a second, you're tossing the Wanfort. That's what we've come to here.
Yeah, I'm definitely tossing that horse.
So Miramati's going to win the big cap. Are you killing? Really? Come on, man. That's just that hurts me. That's just a
Baffert that took 9 tries to break his maiden, and I'll give it, one of them was a stakes race, but like, okay, 7 tries to break his maiden? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I wasn't super creative here. I kind of saw the same way you did, Caleb, where I thought the pace, I thought it was pretty hot. Honestly, like this is the type of race where I would normally make a case for a horse like the 4, or even a horse like the 8, Midnight Mammoth, who's got a couple of like Timeform figs that actually kind of fit in here. But I mean, I think there's just a ton of speed in here. So I have a hard time seeing how one of either the 3 Hit Show or the 7 Locked don't win. I didn't give much of a look to the 2, Caleb. So that might be one I go back and look at, because that is, it has one from just off of it. So maybe just one that kind of is going to sit off, and Mike's just going to kind of give that one run. The lone B I have written down is actually the 1 Express Train, who I thought ran pretty well last time.
Hold on, you mean defending big cap winner Express Train?
Defending big cap winner Express Train, who
he's not really defending. He won the race 3 years ago.
Okay, there's okay. Come on, why did you have to point that out? Damn it, Caleb.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought the last race was actually pretty good. I think came from off the pace and maybe moved too early. I'm not really sure. He eventually got outkicked by Katona, the what is that, the 6 horse in here? Yeah, the 6 horse Katona in here. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that it's an older horse, obviously, and probably one that needs a couple of starts to kind of get back to his peak. So I could see. I mean, if you go back, right, this is a horse that's run 130s in time form, and so you know, I last time had a 121 time form. I could see this one, still taking a slight step forward. Kind of getting into his best form. So. Yeah, I
Where do you
thought
see
maybe the
the
one here could surprise a little bit, but I think that the seven and the three kind of have this race kind of their own way. So I'm using both of those. You gonna say, Mark?
you're saying? I thought you said the 6 ran a 130 time form?
The one did. The one's
Oh,
got
the
a
one did.
133.
Yeah,
Yeah, going back.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. If you go back to, yeah,
yeah. So I just think like I mean, obviously, right? Express Train's what, 8 now. So like we're not expecting this horse to run any tops, right? But I I I don't see him. I don't think it's out of the realm for him who ran a 121 last time to maybe run like a 124, 125 this
yeah.
time. That probably being kind of like the peak that he's going to hit this year, because this is a horse that was consistently running in the high 120s, 2 3 years ago. So obviously older horses I think take a little bit longer to kind of get into their form and need a couple races. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him take a step forward. Whether or not it's good enough to win here, I'm not sure. Um, and not really like a step forward because obviously he's run that, but like run a little bit higher of a number than his last race. So um, I thought the one was interesting here, but yeah, I have a hard time looking past the two favorites in this spot.
I'm glad you brought the one up, Josh, because I didn't really know what to do with him. There is an argument to be made that third off the big layoff for a guy that brings his horses along slowly, like arguably, was this the target the whole time? I mean, he has won this race before, but he would have to get back to a race we haven't seen from him in quite a while. So I wasn't quite sure. But if I decide to be against locked, I'll probably have Express Train on a ticket somewhere.
Anything else on this race? All right. I did briefly want to talk about maybe a couple other races that we kind of didn't really talk about, specifically the Gotham. All right, we got another Derby points race here, and I think this is part of the cross country pick five, not the coast to coast pick five. And Nick specifically said, let's look at the coast to coast. But um, I thought this was kind of an interesting race. Um, they made Sand Devil the 9-5 favorite in this race, um, which is a state bred horse, which I think is kind of ridiculous that this is the 9-5 favorite. And Aragona normally doesn't miss. So I'm really, really interested to hear what you guys think about this race, because I have a lone A in this race, and I don't think it's really close. I think the 4, who's another state bred horse, but I think if you're going to take one of the state bred horses, I think it's the 4 that you take, Sacrosanct. I think I like this horse better than the 5, and you're getting a much better price. You're getting 3-1 on the morning line on this horse, but um, I mean, this is a horse that's 4 for 4, um, and if anything, I think that maybe this might be a horse that might prefer to be going a little bit, going that mile distance, maybe 2 turns further than that. I think it looks to be your speed here, and is probably the fastest early. And if you believe time form, I mean, come on, you see that last figure, and I mean, I don't know. I think this is the horse to beat in this race. I'll take a shot with this horse, and if I play the cross country, which I think includes this race, this will be a single for me. But Mark, I don't know. How did you see this race?
Yeah, I think if you look at the race on paper, it's a 2-horse race. It's between the 4 and the 5. Both of them are undefeated horses. Both of them have sort of, progressively improving patterns where they've gotten a little faster over time. And I do tend to agree with you. I think the 4 is the more interesting of the two, and I think it's the more interesting of the two. Also, there's some other things like, it's the Brad Cox trained horse, and also should be kind of, I would imagine you're kind of controlling pace on the front end. Although there should be a fair bit of pace in this race. I ended up, but after looking at those two, I kind of ended up going a different direction, and I actually landed on the 9 Garamond. And I know
If you alert, do it.
Yep. I knew it was going to happen. But no,
Oh my god. I didn't
yeah,
even see
see,
this horse
Josh,
in this race.
you're slacking off, Josh. No, I thought it was really interesting that Javier Cassiano decides that he's going to give up a couple of mounts that I'm assuming he would have had in a pretty loaded stakes card down at Gulfstream Parks to fly north to Aqueduct. Now, Javi's normally the first jock of the snowbird jockeys that does come back north, but this is just for the day, and I think this is I'm assuming this is the mount he's here for. I couldn't find a different mount on the card that he would be up for, so it looks like he's coming up here to ride this one horse, and then goes back to Florida after this. So I thought it was really, really interesting. This is a Juddmonte homebred, was pretty impressive in that Tampa race. And now, Chad does this thing. Chad's always done this where he spaces out his runners. He doesn't want to run them versus each other. So he shipped this one up to New York, ships Javi up. And I would imagine Javi's looking at that and saying, hey, I'm getting a real live mount, and this is potentially a Derby mount for me. So I thought Garamond as the horse that, another undefeated horse, obviously only the 1 star, you have all the question marks. If you get somewhere around 8-1, I think this is a really interesting spot play type of horse, or tournament play type of horse in this race, and has a pedigree which says this is your Derby type horse. So
8-1 on the slowest horse in the field who broke his maiden in Tampa. You heard it here first, folks.
Yep.
Oh man, Caleb, do you look at the Gotham at all?
I mean, I glanced at it. A lot of horses here come in with some question marks. I think it's hard to land anywhere with confidence. I guess I'm not as against the 5 as it sounds like you both are. To me, they're the same. Like the Sand Devil raced off against National Identity in that last race and beat him by a head. If you look at that New York Stallion Series race that Sacrosanct raced in, he beat National Identity by a head. I mean, so to me, they're almost the same horse. They have almost the same run style, and it's just going to depend on how the race sets up in terms of who goes, who sits. Does anybody else go, and they end up kind of dueling themselves into some kind of a submission or something else? So for me, I do think it's difficult to sort of separate them. If I was going to look for like one horse at somewhat of a outsider angle, I'd look at the 2 Normandy Coast. This horse is rattling off 2 wins in a row. That last at the fairgrounds came off of a pretty big layoff. I mean, from about a 7-month layoff where he broke his maiden at Ellis before coming back to fairgrounds to win an optional 100. He was able to close that day, which I think shows some versatility there, and he's not really need to lead type. And yeah, I like the fact that Ben Curtis ships up. Eddie Kienle, not a guy that typically gets a ton of Derby horses. Ben Curtis, one of the better fairgrounds riders year in and year out. So for him to come up here for what is almost certainly his only mount of the day, it speaks to some intentions there. I mean, he does need to get faster, but he did post a figure that other than the top 2, puts him in the conversation. And if he can improve second off the layoff there, I think he's one that is a little bit interesting to me anyway.
Yeah, and Fortnite is fun from Twitch. She says he's not thrilled the last time at Lasix, but looking for a price, it would be the number 2 Normandy Coast. He was disappointed with Sand Devil last out. He just doesn't think Rice is a Cripple Crown trainer. And he did mention he hopes Coal Battle worked out for everybody last week. So
Yeah, nice
Shout
call
out
on
to,
that, man. Very, very nice
yeah.
call. No, he was very, very high on that horse, and
I think
very,
that's
very
2 weeks
sharp.
in a row that
Didn't
he's
he
coming
also
here.
I
call
think,
Joker
yeah,
Gold?
He's just
I
coming
think
in
he
here
did.
just swinging his dick everywhere, dude. Like, what the hell? What in the world? Caleb, you gotta, I don't know, you gotta get your computer fixed, man. Maybe it's affecting your handicapping. Maybe, dude, maybe that's been your problem the last week, Caleb. Maybe your computer's just been dying this entire time,
Maybe that's
and it's
what it's
affected
been.
your handicapping.
What's
Uh,
Mark's excuse for picking the Javier horse?
I mean, Mark just can't quit Javier.
This is almost as bad as when you pick Power Squeeze.
Mm,
Wait,
you know,
didn't you bet some night horse that was like 1 for 70 lifetime? Every single start of the horse's career?
I bet him again if he ran tomorrow.
Just checking.
dude, Mark. So first of all, I already got plans for next week. So Caleb, I know you love a gamble. So one of the first things I'm going to do when you land is I'm going to ask you, PDT, Clamps, and myself. We're going to all toss in $100, and we're putting that shit into a slot machine, and we're going to do like fucking $50 spins, and we're going to fucking hope we hit a bonus, and maybe we just pay for our entire trip right off the bat. I mean,
I'm down.
I mean, what's the worst? What's the worst that happens, right? But I know we got a little bit of time here. We got 5 minutes till the next Turfway race. So, Caleb, I know this is going to be last minute for you. Mark, I don't think you looked at this race either, but
Capping it quick.
the Busher, which is the Oaks Points race on Gotham Card, I actually thought looked pretty interesting. I kind of looked through this, right? Your morning line favorite's going to be Sharp Smile at 3-1, 7-2 on Ramify, 9-2 at Liam in the Dust. And I kind of went against all of them. I actually really like the 4 Volleyball Princess, and not just because I play volleyball
Because you're our
multiple
volleyball
times a week,
princess.
and not just because I am a volleyball princess, but I mean, this horse has got 2 wins on 3 starts. The one loss was a 7 furlong race at Parks that was in the slop. Looking at the pedigree, slop should be fine, but some horses they just don't like the slop, right? So you put a line through that. I mean, that last race looks great on Brisnet. This is a horse that's been working really well since that last start. And when you look at other figures, I mean, that horse ran a 102 last time out in a wire to wire race. And that was a race that ended up kind of she actually ran a 108 unadjusted, which is the fastest in here. And, maybe just got adjusted down due to the slow pace. But this is a sprinter stretching out. And, I think maybe there's a chance that this is your horse that gets to the lead. And maybe this is the horse that can kind of go wire to wire here in this race. And you're getting 8-1. You're getting a pretty decent price, I think, here. And, some of these other short price, like Sharp Smile, doesn't really look all that much better than a horse like the 4 Volleyball Princess, and you're getting a much better price here. So I really like the 4 Volleyball Princess in the spot. Yeah, I mean won that last race by 10 lengths. Maybe you're thinking just bias, like it was just a speed bias track or whatever, but I'll take a shot there with this horse. And this horse has come back and has worked pretty well. So hoping this one's primed for another good effort here. So the 4 Volleyball Princess, my only my top pick in this race, and probably going to be some win money on this one. Mark, what did you think?
It's a tough race. A lot of different ways you could go. I do like your horse, Volleyball Princess. The other one I do kind of like in here a little bit is the horse just went to the inside, which is Drexel Hill for Beckman Whitworth, or Whitworth Beckman. I don't know how to say his name. Whitworth Beckman. Another Ben Curtis gets the mount here, but a horse that, again, one of these ones seems to kind of be slowly improving. I mean, there was a 1-point regression going from the synth to the dirt. Besides that, a horse that's gotten slightly faster every single start. I don't know if the big jump forward in the last race was due to the off track down at the fairgrounds, but seems to be a horse that is getting a little better. Should have a fairly decent pace setup in here. Probably needs a little pace to close into, and should get it. And just seems to be a horse that this is the type of horse that is going to get ignored at someplace like Aqueduct, and you're going to get that price, if not a fair bit better. So you're probably going to get 8 to 1 kind of range. So I think Drexel Hill is probably where I'd land here on a horse that's got some interesting upside.
Yeah, I like both of the horses that y'all have mentioned already. Josh, I agree that that's a good price for a horse who you can easily make an excuse for, and it's coming off a huge run in the Ruthless. Drexel Hill, I liked in that Silver Bullet Day at Fairgrounds. Didn't mind the ride, but just came up a little bit flat. I do think this horse has some distance issues, so I do think getting to a 1-turn mile is going to be pretty helpful for her in here. Hopefully with the blinkers off, she can relax a little bit, because I thought she was just a little bit too forward, a little bit too keen in that last start, and just didn't have anything left, late. Whit Beckman also phenomenal with the blinkers off. So I like both of them, and I'm probably not really against the 9, who I'm a little surprised she's the favorite, but I guess not, because it is Brad Cox. But January 18th had a pretty wicked speed bias at Aqueduct. Sharp Smile stumbled out of the gate and just wasn't ever able to make up ground beyond that on a runaway Wesley Ward horse up front. So kind of be forgiving of that, given she missed the break against the bias, and a 1 1/8 for that pedigree is just way too far. I think getting back to a 1-turn mile is a little bit better for her. Truthfully, I still wonder if she even wants to go that far. I think maybe a 1-turn mile is probably fine, but 7 furlongs might be a little more in her wheelhouse. But she's the one that I do think also kind of fits the racing here.
All right, they're loading into the gate here at Turfway for the last one. Mark, I saw that you like the 2.
Yeah, win about the 2.
Right. And then I see CB4U to win. He's got the 2. He's got the 7, 5, 11, and the 6 key boxed in a try. I got the 8. I like the 8 here. Let's see if we get maybe actually pick the horse that's going to go get the lead here and go wire to wire.
But they spelled Schuylerville wrong.
Schuylerville? That reminds me, Caleb. We still got to talk about the Saratoga possibility this summer.
We do.
We'll have to.
I know somebody bought all of us Belmont tickets, which was super nice of him.
Dude, I saw how expensive those were, and I'm like, no thanks. It just and it just reminds me of the Breeders' Cup, where we paid all that money for those tickets, Caleb, and
yeah.
Needless to say, I don't think we got our money's worth on those tickets.
No, this will be the last year Belmont's at Saratoga, or will be next year as well.
They've said this will be the last year. Belmont construction is apparently ahead of plan, of all the crazy things you never thought you'd ever hear.
First time construction's ever been ahead of plan
ever been ahead. Yeah, but no, they're saying this will be the last year.
Oh, the 6 is making this huge early move. Oh my God, the 6 looks absolutely loaded.
Who do you guys have here? Mark, you have the 2, and Josh, you have the, I assume, 8.
I got the 8.
Yeah,
I got the 2.
8 looks done.
My 2 got all sorts of traffic trouble.
Oh, there's the favorite, the 7. Turn into Chalkway all of a sudden.
Well, Mark's 2's diving to the fence, but I don't know if he's gonna.
I don't think he's gonna get there. They get checked super hard.
Oh my God, the 6. This 6 just put the 7 away.
Whew.
Goodness gracious.
Love to see it.
Wait, was that 6, 7, 2?
I think
the 5 might have came back on the 2. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it was close for 3rd.
We gotta look if it's this 6, 7, 2. CB's got this one. He's got the try. Well, he said he key boxed it, so I assumed he keyed 2 and he boxed the rest of them. So that gets him.
That'll be a nice try if the 2 held.
Let's see. Yeah, 6.
Nick Josh apparently really likes this stupid track. I don't know why.
Oh, I think the 5 might have nipped him.
Did he?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, because that stupid camera where I thought dude, Caleb, earlier today, I walked off because I thought I hit this double, and so I go and I see the horses cross the line. I come back and another horse is put up. Apparently, I got like the worst camera angle in the history of the world, and
Dude, I've
it
done
looked like I
that.
was
It's the
clear.
worst.
I think it's before the line. No, it's
Yeah, the
Oh,
two
they
held.
got the
Nice.
two. They
There
put
it
the
is.
two up.
There you
There
go.
it is.
Nice.
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 That
That'll
should
pay.
that should be pretty good.
Pretty decent. I mean, favorite and second, but still, yeah, that'll.
Oh no, an objection.
Oh no.
I mean,
I
imagine
assumed it was the 7 against the 6. It looked like there was a bit of bumping in there, but
it could have been 2 against some of the other horses in there as well.
well, he finished ahead of anybody that would bother him, I think. But
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate all you guys who tuned in, obviously, this week. Obviously, check us out at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. Mark is at 2 Turns. Caleb's at CalebWVU. We will have another episode of You've Got to Be Shot-Tinning me up sometime tomorrow night. Taking a look at Shot-Tin. And then no drinking champagne this week, but we should have an episode up next week ahead of our Caleb and I's Vegas trip, where right now the only thing we got planned is food, a Knights game, and beverages, I'm sure, and a lot of gambling. Probably craps mostly, but we'll see. We'll see what Caleb gets into, and we'll make sure Caleb behaves himself. But all right, we'll catch you guys later. Good luck, and let's make some money.